Hello, and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Mountain Dust. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by the director of Mountain Dust, Marlén Ríos-Farjat. Hello, Marlén, and welcome.
Hello, Eric. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. I can't wait to talk to you about this film. But before we do that, we may have some students that are viewing this program who are studying Spanish. Do you mind saying a special hello to them in Spanish?
Mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Marlén. Espero que hayan podido disfrutar la película y que continúen adelante con sus estudios en español. Es un idioma muy útil.
Well, thank you for that. I'm sure our students appreciated that personalized greeting that those who are studying Spanish. So let's get right into this. I understand that this film, you actually were able to make this film because you submitted it into a contest. And for this contest, you could have probably submitted anything. Why did you submit this particular script into this contest?
It was a contest where they were going to teach us to do filmmaking through a sustainable lens, integrating green filmmaking techniques, which means to be environmentally friendly. And that led me to the topic, which I've known for my whole life because I was born and raised around the area of the quarries, not of the quarries, but of Monterrey, which is close to those places. They are in fact very close. So I was immediately it came to mind to talk about it because it was going to be funded through a government initiative, which meant to be which is a neutral initiative here. So that was the only way I thought I could get funding. I didn't think I was going to be able to get funding for this film through a private company, for example, here.
Why? Exactly, because of the subject matter. And it's interesting that
Yes.
the government was able to give you funding because there were no restrictions, even if you were exposing something that about the government.
Yeah, that's how this contest work here for film. We have the fortune that for the most part, there are of course exceptions, but for the most part, there is no censorship of these fundings.
Now, I understand this is inspired by a true story, but this story was really conceived by what probably could have happened. People were affected by the mountain dust. So can you give us a little bit of background of how you actually wrote the script? Did you interview people? Did you go through news stories? Take us through that process.
I was born in Mexico City, but when I was 7 years old, I moved here to Monterrey, and that was around 1991. And around that time, you could hear on the news that they were going to close the quarries. So I've been hearing that since I got here in 1991, and we are now in 2023. And they always change the conversation. About election time, they start talking about the need to close the quarries. And I thought we all came close to thinking that was going to come true about a little more than 6 years ago. We had an election, and we thought that that was going to be the moment, but then everything changed once the actual guy got in, and by the end, he was giving them more permissions. Also, there's a safety zone between the quarries and the houses, which is not really safe at all. And he even tried to erase that zone to build more houses. But fortunately, that was prevented from happening, but he even tried to do that during his last days. So it's something that happens. And during my research, because once I decided to write about that idea, I began to research how I was going to approach the idea, and I realized that I had to talk about politics because it's something that goes hand in hand. It cannot, you cannot talk about the quarries without really saying what keeps them there, which is, of course, corruption. And that's something that's very heartbreaking for me. Is when I actually went to the, I don't know how to say the colonias, barrios, to the villages around the places, the houses, and I was knocking on doors, looking for location. And there was not a single house that I knocked that people were not sick in some way. Not only pollution does not only affect you through breathing, but also it gives you other diseases, like also on the blood or even cancer. Pollution goes practically to destroy the human body, but since it's like it goes without really, it's very difficult to pinpoint the origin or the cause. So because of it's difficult to pinpoint the cause, everybody looks away because you cannot really assign a culprit to it, even though it's clear that something is happening. I saw it. I'm knocking over 20 houses, and each time someone was sick. There were people that were willing to lend me their home, but I thought I prefer not to, because I saw that we were going to be too invasive and they were fragile.
Interesting. So, and that's just remarkable, the amount of research and development you put into this film. What was your goal in making this film? Was it to expose what was going on, or to try to bring about change? Tell us about the goal.
Both. I want to bring about change and also conscience, because the companies that manage the quarries here are incredibly powerful. And I mean it. I mean, they are not only powerful in Mexico, but worldwide. They are. I won't name them, but they have these quarries, and you would think that they are a different company because they are under their different names, but they are all the same. they have like the same. You can trace them through very specific research who the owner is. So there have been journalists who have written about it. It's kind of known, but it immediately disappears. No, it stays there like 2 or 3 days. Like because we have levels to measure the pollution through the area, and sometimes these controls for measurement don't work, or are under when you under reparation, and you later found out that this reparation was when something happened at the quarry and they kind of blow up too much. So, but this is like you see it one day and the next days are gone. So I wanted to bring about something that remained. Specifically, I want that people here see it, because we tend to, it's about a few kilometers away. So in Monterrey, we don't really think about it too much. We think about other sources of pollution, which they are, but the quarries are some of the biggest, because we couldn't say everything we kind of wanted about it on the short film because we had time constraints. But right where some of the quarries are located, we have this nature with the mountains that creates an entering of wind, of one of the strongest winds in Mexico. And what happens is that these particles actually fly much more longer than they usually do because they are PM10 and they are supposed to drop within a short distance. But here they travel all the way through our area because of these bands of wind that goes through the mountains. So it's something people don't know, but I've been talking about it when I have the fortune to. I've had the fortune of presenting the short films to them.
Mm-hmm. And what has the response been to this film? Did you receive any negative feedback from maybe officials? I know the residents must have enjoyed the exposure of this.
Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure of showing it to people in positions of power yet. But we are looking for venues for the film. Once it finishes these few months, which are we have limitations because of the film festivals. But once that is done, we are planning of making it much more readily available. And then I guess we'll see what they have to say.
Yes, very well. Let's talk about the film specifically. Did you face any oppositions while filming this?
Through the funding or the school, no, because they really do not censorship you.
Okay.
Through when I was doing the research and I wanted to get some more inside knowledge, there were people that were afraid. And I remember a couple of people who I've made I'd reached through them with a telephone call, but after a while they've decided not to provide any more information. There was one case in which I did approach the local government because I wanted their view, and I talked with someone who works at that local level, and they started talking about the wonderful things that the quarries do, and I was just writing them, and then I was fact checking, and things weren't adding up. Of course.
Yes, you did your research, and that's important for our students that are watching. Do your research.
Yes, because there was one a woman who works for the government, but she is in fact an activist, and she told me, like in confidence, you have to talk to the quarries, but don't talk to the quarries first because they are going to confuse you. Talk to everyone.
Yeah,
and leave them at the end.
Exactly. So what about the cast? How did you find your cast? Did you hold auditions or did you know these people personally?
I knew Karen, who plays Jessie, the main character. I did an audition for another short film a while ago, and I thought she was pretty good, but she wasn't right for that specific character because it had to resemble someone, and she didn't because she had to be the daughter of someone. And I have always wanted to work with her. And she's also from Monterrey. All the cast is from Monterrey. I wanted to work with the local crew. And the other actors, I did I did a cast for all of them, and I decided. I made my decisions.
Okay, so you have to cast together your script and your crew. How long did it actually take you to film this?
It was 4 days and a half.
Okay, great. That's remarkable. And just the I know you had limited amount of time. Was there anything that you left out of the film that you wish you could have added into the film?
When we were shooting, Karen, the actress, she's also a friend of mine. She became a friend after the film, and she was saying, "You had to do a series. This could be like we could go with a short film and start pitching the project." I said, "Who's gonna fund it, Karen?" It's difficult, but I did like the idea of turning it into something larger, to reach, especially to reach a wider audience, because pollution here it's really a problem.
Yeah, I can see that. And just the way you displayed the film too, I especially enjoyed the drone footage showing the beauty of the country. And then in contrast, we see what the quarries are doing, polluting the beauty of the air. That was intentional to show that. Is that correct? You intentionally want to show that
Yes.
contrast? Mhm.
Yes, we were wanting to show the scope of the damage.
It is exactly what that said. So, with that said, I know you're working on a project now. You're editing a documentary called The Origin of Time.
Yes,
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that's going? And
yes, that's the director of photography of Mountain Dust is a director of documentaries, and I work as his editor. And when he directs, and this is his first feature-length film, and it's about the story of the migration of Oaxaca. Oaxaca is a state in the southern part of Mexico.
yeah.
And the origin of time is about how the costumes of the local villages are being lost because the young people are leaving.
Oh, interesting. When can we expect to see this documentary?
I think since he's still shooting, I will say in a couple of years.
Okay. Okay, it
Yes.
takes some time. Yes, it takes some time. Well, this has been a really enjoyable conversation. I wish you the best with continued screenings of Mountain Dust. It'll be interesting to
Thank
see.
you so much.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see when the
Yes.
officials get to see it as well too.
Yes, I
Uh,
want to say.
well, thanks again for joining us. All the best to you. And before I let you go, can you say a special goodbye to our students that are studying Spanish?
Sure. Pues muchas gracias por haber escuchado la conversación. Muchas gracias también por haber visto el corto y si no, véanlo. Y sigan disfrutando pues, de su aprendizaje en español. Es súper importante y apóyense también en el internet para reforzar todo el español.
Marlén Ríos-Farjat, Director of Mountain Dust. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. Thank you.